Memphis. Nothing but Memphis. Everywhere we go, it's Memphis. Memphis, Tennessee, the beautiful land in the world.
And I'm thankful for this guy who tweeted and said I don't have that fire in my eyes no more. That game right there was for him. That's what I do. I prove people wrong each and every night, and that's for him right there.
Hi, this is Tom Izzo at Michigan State, and you're listening to Grizz 901.
Yo, what up, Grizz Nation, and welcome back to Grizz 901, your favorite and the best, better than the rest, better than anybody, the number one Memphis Grizzlies post-game show coming to you live. I am your host, Daniel Greer, and we are a part of Bluff City Media, and if you could, be a friend, tell a friend, let them know what you're watching, but go ahead and hit the like button, the share button over on Twitter, and then also, it's easy, and it's free. Hit the subscribe button over on YouTube, part of Bluff City Media, and you get all the content, all Memphis, all the time. Let's talk about the show. We're going to get into it right away, and we're going to hit the recap. And as you know, the Grizzlies took care of business 116-103, and it was a dominant performance, but it was a big swing of swings, right? And so it went back and forth, and, you know, hats off to the Pacers and the entire organization over there. They're doing things a little different, but it is so much fun to watch. The second thing we're going to get into is going to be the Grizz Trivia. After that, we're going to go straight into digging a little bit deeper into the game. It's going to be fun. And then the last thing is, you know, we got to look forward and look to the Hawks on Saturday. So we got a fun-filled, packed show for you tonight. Let's go ahead and bring Nate in. Yo, Nate, what up, man? Hey, no, Goon,
this is the kind of difference John Morant makes in the world.
Wow.
Goon is in the comments saying, good job, and Jaren in the same sentence.
Wow.
We're all growing. Shout out, Goon.
We thought Zaire would benefit the most, but no. Instead, it's Goon, the shooter, just coming in, looking good, man. Hey, this is – we're turning the page. We might be in a different book. Who knows what's happening, but shout out to Goon. Shout out to the rest of you, Grizzly Gazette. I know this is one of your first times being here, but, man, I can't wait for what is to come. If you want to obviously bring in a lot of your fans, you know, we love that. We love to be a part of really the community, what is Grizz Twitter and Grizz Nation. And so we're going to get through a lot of the comments, as we always do, because it is fun. This is the best part of our show. But as I have not seen this name, so Big Gotti, another win for the city. That's a train? That's got to be a train, right? Is it?
That's a city.
Oh, it's a city. It looks kind of like the train,
Right,
right?
you're old. You need what I got on right now.
I got really good eyesight. I thought it was the cut of
Okay.
the train. I really do.
Bet.
All right. So as Goon says, Ja is the next MJ. Listen from your mouth to God's ears. We'll hopefully it'll keep happening. But as you're all coming in here, do us a favor, hit the like button on the show. But also, before we actually hit this at the last part of the show, let's hit it the first part of the show. There is specials out right now for Bluff City merch. This is a brand new merch store. Unfortunately, we can't give away the free $100 merch gift certificate because even though I would have probably gave Jessica Benson her first guess without the influence, we were way under no matter what. It didn't matter.
Shout out. I saw our guy Ant on Twitter. He hit the under by like 30.
A lot. Yeah.
The under smash tonight. But hey, that's a testament to the Grizzlies defense, man. Holding that team to really 100 points is wild. I mean, that team puts up points on points on points.
Yeah.
So good for them.
Listen, it was a good all-around defensive game. Shout out absolutely Jitty. Shout out Vince Williams. A lot of, this team playing on a string in a sense. I want to talk, today a little bit about this defense in a sense. And we're going to talk about that more in the second half. I also want to ask a question about Roddy because I know he's MIA right now. I want to ask your opinion because you are the flag bearer of Roddy Nation. And so I want to ask about that. And so we're going to get into that in the second segment. Let's go ahead and come off the top rope with you. Is this what we got in the cup?
It's a little hot cocoa and maybe Kahlua. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. We had Pete with the Santa Claus with the early holiday delivery line.
Okay.
Chef's kiss, best in the biz for a reason. Got Christmas decorations up. I did Mr. Good homebody husband, full on domesticated.
Yeah.
We got a little cocoa in a cup that says Mr. on it. 2 guesses as to what the other one in the match says. I'm domesticated, bro.
Wow.
Anyways, Zaire banked in a 3 tonight. Shout out him. But dude, we'll get to the Roddy stuff because I am the king of the David Roddy fan club. And for anyone who thinks we've seen the last of David Roddy, I got news for you. Shout out to Grizz Gazette. I appreciate you joining in with me. Daniel makes me drink alone a lot. It's like mom. But shout out to Zaire for making most of his minutes, man, and Jitty, because Roddy's going to be back. But at the end of the day, the defensive length and the activity, I mean, Konchar's running around like a freaking spider monkey, dude. Look what Ja did to Konchar. Jumped up and spike into. It wasn't just blocking. I mean, it was spike into. Who's Magoo?
Listen, that's something you've said before, so I thought it was up your alley. He's an OG. Dak Jones is the OG, man. So
I know, but I don't remember that. Anyway, Mr. Magoo. God dang it, Dak. No, it says Mrs. I see you. Me and Dak are always close to the same wavelength. Not on it. Yeah, I'm domesticated. It's one of those things where the team comes back and listen, the engine is back. The engine to this team is back. And some of the rotations are still iffy, but I will say for Taylor at this point, I actually do like what I've seen as far as the rotations go. You can tell he's letting Ja make everyone around him better and then trying to get Dez and Jaren on the court at the same time. So those 2 dudes aren't alone and can feed off of each other. And right now, I think that is the way to go. And he's still finding ways to get them all on the court together. So I'm actually really happy with the rotations right now. There's some that you're like, man, this is an ugly lineup. But that's going to happen sometimes when you're kind of searching. Jaren gets into a little foul trouble. But all around, man, like the team just looks like it's in a completely different world. Like it really looks like an entirely different team, man.
Yeah, man. As Grizzly Gazette says, it's insert the spark plug, which is 12. Like he is the instant energy. Like he's going to give that to you. But then, like, you're already feeding off of what Vince Williams, what some people have called the energizer in a sense, and what he's actually bringing to this team. But let me just point out some things within the stat sheet in a sense. And so some things I want to look through. What I see is the fact that you have Bismack Biyombo, who started with 17 minutes. The reason is it wasn't a Bismack game. Look down at the roster. He played the least amount of minutes. Once again, it doesn't matter who starts on this team. It will never matter, in my opinion. It's all about who closes. It's all about these lineups. How do they interchange? What they can overlay within these rotations. And so I think that's important. But also, you're talking about, what is this, game 27 into the season? A lot of these guys are in, roughly game 27, but if not, a little bit less. I know Ja's in his game number 2, but a lot of these guys, they are playing, the bench guys. Aldama 25 minutes, Tillman 21 minutes, Zaire 18 minutes, and Conchar 21 minutes. Look at the starters, though. Obviously, you want your three-headed monster in Jaren 33 minutes, Ja 34, Bane 35. We might have a fourth, and that is Vince, 34 minutes. Listen, going up from the two-way, and now he will have a full contract. He will. That's a guarantee, and it's honestly not even a topic of conversation. But the fact that he's getting these heavy minutes just shows that he is falling very much in the favor of the front office, but also the coaching staff, because he's working his tail off. And so shout out to him. Even on a night where you go 0-3 from deep, he had 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. That's honestly, on a stat sheet, that's laughable. That goes way out the window. But if you're watching the game, if you're watching ball, the dude is going to be an absolute animal on the court, and he has been. And so shout out to him. But looking through these numbers real quick, Bane with 31, 6 and 7, Jaren with 21 and 7. Ja, they were sending a lot of two-man running at him, especially in that third quarter, in the end of the second. He ended with 25 and 8, so another solid game out of him. Zaire was 16, 3-4 from deep. Santi 13-2. Tillman 5 and 5. Conchar 6 and 6. And so all around a decent game out of these guys.
Well, let's be clear. Jaren and Ja both would have dropped 35, but they saw 2 the entire game after the first quarter.
Exactly.
Like that. And that's what I think the biggest adjustment for the team has been so far, and is going to continue to be, is learning how to play around that, because you are going to get an opportunity, right? And what are you going to do with it when they double up Ja, when they double up Jaren? But listen, that makes them impossible to defend. Yeah. They're impossible to defend if you have to double Ja. But then you get it to Jaren, and he's dominating whoever's in the post. What did he miss? He missed 2 shots tonight. They're both 3. He shot 50%.
Both threes, yeah.
They had nothing for him. And you saw what Miles Turner and Aaron Neesmith and some of those different guys are doing, right? I mean, they are defending the paint super well.
Yeah.
They had nothing for him, man. Nothing. I mean, his jump offensively with Ja being out the first 25 is going to serve them so well. So yeah, makes it possible to defend. And then you saw they double him, they double Ja. Dez gets loose, drops 31 on him. Right? It's like, pick your poison. So
yeah.
Listen,
and Dez had a bad first half.
And Biz finally caught one. He caught the ball and didn't lose it and put it in the bucket. It was awesome, man.
Yeah. As these guys saying that, as Dak Jones said, Luke is going to eat when he gets back. And so is, Smart's going to have a lot of freedom, but it's also going to give another good defender. And Tom's saying that, you can't stop Ja even with a triple team. You can't. But the great thing is he's able to find the right guy. But can they actually bury those open threes? Can they actually be aggressive and play that same role? And so sometimes the roles have to shift. And when they're throwing that many guys at you, their role has to shift. And the point that they have to get more downhill. And you saw that after halftime where, you're seeing some of these role players. And honestly, Zaire was one of them. You kind of just say, hey, I'm going to take these shots with confidence. And they were. That's the difference, man. It's huge. The confidence thing is the biggest thing. X hit his little bunny after he hit a 3 last game when I screamed, no, my God, when he made it. It started, no, my God, it went in. Well, he had that little bunny tonight, shot it with zero hesitation. You see what Zaire's doing now, Conchar, Biz. It just makes everyone better. But let's talk about the guy who had the best plus-minus on the team tonight, Santi Aldama, dude. Ja, this is my favorite thing. And honestly, I just kind of sit back and let Chris take the reins because he is not going to let it slide. Everybody talking about Dylan Brooks was the Grizzlies swagger. It's Ja. It's always been Ja. I just let Chris go. Every game he's on it right now. And I'm like, get him. Because
Santi's playing with an edge we haven't seen all season. He has had good games, but you see a little bit more fire in him you haven't seen all season. I think that goes for the entire team. And you see him going up strong with rebounds, and they're not getting taken away as much, which is a huge plus. But he's shooting with confidence. You see him go up. He has a little bit more of a swagger to him. And so Santi's game, I think, more than probably anyone outside of Zaire, gets elevated with Ja back. Zaire's game gets elevated the most with Ja back because it has the most room to go, right? Like
he's also sucked. He sucks so bad.
Yeah, and then you get Ja around him, and it's like, okay, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Whereas Santi's already pretty good, but then his ceiling gets raised so much because of, one, the shots and the looks he's getting are so much better than what they would be. Two, the edge that Ja brings just boosts the edge that's already kind of there with Santi, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to see a lot of pieces on this team start falling together with stuff like that. But those are the two that I think you'll see it the most with. And hopefully we get a really high boost, I should say, in trade value with old Zaire.
Yeah. Absolutely. So shout out to another OG and David Vickers.
Hey.
I know Nate and I, we don't know who David Vickers is, but a true OG of the show. We were actually just talking about you the other day about how even though we're putting up our shows, even after they're live now, we're putting up on Grizz 901 just to keep the, kind of a library in a sense of our shows. You've gone through there and actually commented on a lot of those. So man, can't thank you enough just for hanging out with us in a sense. But let's get to Dak Daniels' question. How many more wins do we need to make a trade to upgrade at center? Because this has been a big thing. And he'll even go to say like he's a prisoner of the moment, but games like tonight, our least amount of minutes guy was our starting center and Bismack Biyombo. And so at what point do you feel as a franchise that you say, hey, we need to go ahead and make a trade for this season? And obviously, if it helps us in the future, yes, you make that trade, right? But I'm talking about a trade that only helps us this year, maybe an expiring contract of some sort. At what point in the season do you feel comfortable, and what would the record be, Nate?
Nope.
Never?
No. And I like the idea because this team is really, I think, a true big away from being pretty close to complete. That assuming Marcus Smart comes back and fits into that role he was supposed to fit in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. And then Luke comes back. He's able to find his form and contribute. Like wings wise, you were super needy for a wing at the beginning of the season, but if Vince Williams is going to shoot 40% from three and defend like a maniac,
yeah,
you really might have already solved that in-house. Now, could you benefit from a Jeremy Grant, OG Anunoby? Of course you could, but like you have guys that can carry the boat. That's all you really need. So you probably are a big away. That being said, like if you're going to do that, you're going to have to come off of something real to get a piece that's real. That's when everybody talks about the front office should have really foreseen this stuff with Adams and made a move anyways. I'm like, what were you going to do?
Yeah.
Like who could you really bring in that does what Steven does? The answer is nobody. He's such a unique player. But like, let's say you bring in somebody who's close to that. Walker Kessler, maybe. Mitchell Robinson out for the season. Really glad that didn't happen. Robert Williams out for the season. Glad that didn't happen. Who else?
What are you asking? Like
bring in a center that can be like the big bruiser, true center. Maybe Yusuf Nurkic. I don't want to cheer for him, but
no. So the guy who I was going to make a suggestion of is actually Andre Drummond. So if I was to make a move this season, I think Drummond, who doesn't need the ball to actually be a good NBA player for you. Like you need somebody that doesn't need the ball, such as Bismack Biyombo. But what it is you're talking about a guy with an expiring contract. He's little to nothing. You could trade, honestly, anybody off the bench. Zaire, you could trade, Jake, any one of those guys that you see that nothing in. And you could actually use him as the expiring contract and would help you in this season. And as Grizzlies fanboy says, no, listen, I'm not saying I love the situation. but I'm just saying in general, that is the idea that I'm going after.
Well,
And
here's my thing.
Go ahead.
In theory, that is a upgrade. In theory. I don't think it's that much of an upgrade from Bismack Biyombo, though. Like, if you're just looking to get off, like, Jake LaRavia, dude, I would trade Jake LaRavia for a bag of balls. So, yeah, sure. Go ahead and do that. But if you're looking for, like, a true upgrade, which I'm thinking, hey, we want to bring in a starting center that actually elevates this team, it's not Andre Drummond, dude. It's not. What he is not moving the needle for this team. Now, he's big, 100%, but listen, there's a chance he can't move by the time the playoffs get around. The Grizzlies really want to ride him. So I just don't think that move's there to be made unless you decide we're going to move on from the Steve-O era, which I think is a mistake unless you think the knee's never going to be what it was before.
Yeah.
Which there's no reason to think that, right? I mean, it's such a minor injury. It was never supposed to be surgery in the first place.
Right.
So I wouldn't do that, you know? And there's good names here. Nick Claxton, Jared Allen, all these guys. I just think you're not getting those guys for nothing. You can get an Andre Drummond as I think the creme de la creme of what you're going to get if you choose to come off of nothing for it, right? And I just don't think it moves the needle. So if you want to go get Andre Drummond and they will take Jake LaRavia, like, I don't think you could sign the papers through fast enough, in my opinion. But other than that, like, if you want a true upgrade to a Claxton, Jared Allen, I'm trying to think. There's somebody on my mind the other night I was thinking about.
So Tom just said, what about Wiseman? You know, and listen, that's fine, but like I don't think he is the type of guy that is going to be the bruiser. He is a Jaren. Right. That's really what he is.
Well, he plays differently than Jaren, obviously, but it's the same concept, right? Like, he will get bullied by the same guys that will bully Jaren and that will bully Biz.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you can go get like an Andre Drummond type thing, and then he could set screens, try and bully other bigs, so bully around. But truth be told, even though Andre Drummond is big enough to bully guys like Anthony Davis is too quick and skilled and still really strong, right? And so if you're going to make a move for a big to try and compete, the reason you're doing it is to keep up with LA and Minnesota and those types, right?
Yeah.
It's just not happening. It's just not happening unless you want to go get someone that's going to cost you a lot and you're moving on from Steve-O. And with the idea of Brandon Clark coming back, that solves another one of your big problems, right? So I'm just hesitant on any of it. Wiseman, I think, fits with Ja. I don't think he fits with Jaren very well, though.
Yeah.
And you need to find somebody who does both, unless it's on the mega cheap. So
yeah. Speaking of Brandon Clark, you know, and Memphis Grizz News is asking, do you think Brandon will be the same when he gets back? That is the question, because I think that the guy could be good, but there's so much out there for a guy who really lives on those bunny hops. But let me break down a little bit what you were talking about and kind of explain a little bit of what I, kind of saw or discussing in I guess the center position. Let's just kind of break it down, simple terms for everyone, including, myself. You just paid an extra $4 million, $5 million in total for Bismack Biyombo, right? So you sign him on the year. I don't care about the money. I'm just saying in general. So you have him and you have X. That's really your only two bigs. Santi is what it is. I think you like Santi. I think you keep Santi. He could be at a bigger 3. He could be he could be a 4, but he doesn't bang like a 4 in a sense. So discussing just mainly Bismack and X, I think having another big guy with size is fine. But you're talking about if you were to bring in an Andre Drummond, I think you could bring an Andre Drummond in and still keep Bismack Biyombo in a sense. Because the simple fact is, I know some people are saying that, yes, he can't do this, he can't do this. Well, the whole reason you have these other type of players is because you can be very versatile. And the thing is like you can go smaller with X, with Jaren. You can go with Clark and be small, or you can be, bigger and you feel like you have a guy that needs to rebound more and kind of do the Steven Adams role. I don't know how he is, hands-wise, if he's very handsy around the rim where he can catch and dunk. That's Bismack Biyombo's issue. And it's been his issue. He can't catch, keep it high, and dunk. He catches it, does his little like he's stuck. He's glitching. It's called the glitch ombo. It's terrible. It's so bad. And so he's getting better. But Mr. Glitch Man needs to just put the ball in the hoop and quit trying to shoot layups. But yeah. So listen, I love a lot of what everybody's saying because it is a lot of good names. It's just how much do they cost and how long, what are we doing for the future? One guy I think said he was talking about JV. We should not have moved on from JV. The simple fact the thing is I love JV. I was one of the bigger fans. Like he was one of my favorite players on the team. Unfortunately, he needs the ball offensively. And because he needs the ball offensively and he wants the ball offensively, he wasn't ever going to fit on this team. And that was just as simple as that. A better guy for this team, a better guy for Jaren, even Ja, is a guy like Steve-O.
Yeah. Steve-O, JV is probably the better quote-unquote all-around player than Steve-O is. But Adams just does everything you need to do. He is the epitome of build around your stars, right? And so I don't think it was a mistake to move on from him. Maybe they lucked into it, but either way, I think Adams is better for this team. Now, I'm seeing other guys like this with Looney being brought up. I actually like Looney a lot. I just have a hard time seeing the Warriors let go of him again for nothing, right? It depends on what you're willing to move, and I'm just not willing to move heaven and earth to get a center this year. What are you going to come off of, right? Yeah. Then again, if you can get rid of Biz and Zaire for Kevon Looney, do it.
There's so many that you do it if it's available.
Yeah, it's you're gonna have to 3-team stuff like that. So you're gonna have to be the team that comes in to make money work for stuff like that, right? And I just find it hard to believe that'll happen. So I think the biggest hope for the Grizzlies is either you luck into something like that, and then the season goes really well, you get in the play-in, and then you go make a bunch of noise in the playoffs.
Right.
Or BC comes back. BC comes back, solves a big problem for you as soon as he gets back, and then you go from there. Hopefully BC does have the balance, and it's one of those things where an Achilles makes that really scary. But, Aaron Rodgers was, whether you believe it or not, it was in the realm of possibility Aaron Rodgers was going to play football this year. Coming off an Achilles. They can do crazy things with those surgeries now. So we'll see. I know if he does, then he did have a sauna put in by Crew Pros that helped him recover. So shout out Crew Pros.
Former sponsor of the show,
Crew Pros. Give them a call for all your home and residential needs.
Unfortunately, we started asking for too much money.
This is actually a Crew Pros hat. You can see it. There
Shout
you go.
out Crew Pros.
Shout out Crew Pros. They're providing much of the wardrobe for today's show. But here's hoping, man, because if he does have that bounce, then dude. And he's super dangerous for them. If not, then it puts the Grizzlies in a really tough spot, right? Because not only does he not do for you what he did before that made him so valuable and made those lineups so dangerous, now it's really hard to create value even in a trade, right? To get an equal impact back.
Brand new contract.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. All right. So I love all that. We're going to get into our second segment in a second. We're going to hear from Taylor Jenkins. He's actually talking about the fans in the Grindhouse. And so I figured that would be fun to share. And so I'm going to go ahead and share that. We'll discuss that. We'll get to our second segment, which is going to be about Grizz Trivia. And then we're going to get into a little bit more in depth. But let's go into this real fast.
Thought Ja was great tonight. Obviously the reception that he got from the crowd was phenomenal. Got to shout out the fans. That was amazing. I thought he fed off their energy and vice versa. Just in attack mode, 8 assists, I think last game, 8 assists tonight. Obviously getting into the paint, they're going to throw a lot of attention on. They started, double teaming him even before we got into actions. I thought he made some, pretty good decisions there. We'll work on cleaning that up. We haven't seen that in a while. But again, as we've been talking about, credit to Dez and JJ, just the work they've been putting in the first, quarter of the season. This is all just to continue to have more roster, offensive balance and firepower, and did some different things with the lineup combinations tonight just to give us different looks, throughout 48 minutes. And I thought those guys, played aggressive. I think Dez really got going there in that third quarter, in the second half especially, and JJ had a good first half, and then they just started selling out on him a lot. And then when we got him into some open space, he was able to navigate a little bit better there. But when you got 3 of those guys, I think someone marked down here, got a pretty good record when those guys scored 20+ plus points. But it's just the facilitating and the optionality. I mean, Des had 7 assists tonight as well. So when you got more playmaking from the guard position, and even with JJ's playmaking ability, it's something we got to lean on a lot. And just the connectivity and 27 assists. I thought our bench was huge for us tonight. I mean, defensively, Jitty with big time blocks, Santi knocked in big time shots. Zaire even with knocking down shots and defensive activity. When we just get that ball moving, for 48 minutes, that's Grizzlies basketball. I mean, I thought
That's Grizzlies basketball. Shout out to the Grindhouse, man. I know the fans were getting after it tonight. And as Grizzly Gazette, we were talking about last show about TJ, and he is catching some heat. I get it. Some of it is actually just due for sure. But a lot of it is just a bad start to the season without your best player. And I think now you're seeing a lot of it is every coach. It's because of your best player. If your best player is awesome, you're probably going to be okay. You can work your way through a lot of bad coaching things under a microscope. But he does talk so fast.
I was to say, how much G Fuel you think he's got going in his system right now?
He's like, the crowd was
connectivity, guys passing all around, and great defense and great activity on both ends. And I just really like the way the job came in, and the team really just came together as a unit. And
good times. All right, so we're gonna get back to the show in a second. We're gonna go ahead and take a break first. In the second segment, as you know, we're gonna hit on Grizz Trivia. I have the easiest question of the entire season, and I know all of you in the comments will get it right.
Means nothing.
There's one guy who will not get it right. We'll be right back in about 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Yeah, because Zach Randolph went into the Blazers organization that had some characters. Underline the word characters, right. Okay? He's coming from Michigan State. He's from Marion, Indiana. And then you go to Portland, Oregon, which it's an entirely different culture, entirely different demographic. He had people around him who were guys from Marion. Hey, you owe us. Anthony, one of the key memories of my time here in Memphis off the court, I did a Read to Achieve event with Zach Randolph. And the kid who read the most books, his prize was to get to interview Zach Randolph. And the young man, first question to Zach is, what's the hardest thing for a black athlete to learn? And Zach did not give him any, BS fluff answer. He said, a lot of times the people who say they're your friends, they're not your friends. And you have to pick the people around you very, very wisely.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
All right, we are the Grizz 901 podcast. I'm Daniel. That is Nate. If you would, be a friend, tell a friend. As we always say, go ahead and hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button here over on YouTube. And if you're watching this on Twitter, hit the like and the share. We would appreciate it. Free to do that. This show, obviously, is free to you all. We want to always keep it that way. We don't ever want to charge, but we want to make sure that we're getting this out there and to our friends and to your friends. And so we want to spread the news and keep this show growing as it has. We've coming off our biggest show last week, I believe. The numbers were roughly around this. I think it was the 17,000s in total for our show. And so I can't thank you enough. Obviously, it's Ja coming back. This won't be as great of a show numbers wise, but I from looking at the numbers, what I see so far, it's going to get close enough. Okay. And so I can be happy with that. We still have a lot of comments still coming in, but real quick, as we always do, let's get into Grizz Trivia, where we know there's zero chance Nate's going to get it. Close the comments, Nate, because I want to go ahead and ask my friends, Nathan Qualls, who is the Memphis Grizzlies' all-time leading scorer?
Well, first off, I really appreciate that you said my friends because, I have multiple personalities. So thank you for that. Grizz all-time leading scorer.
If you know in the chat, go ahead and share along because I'd love to see what some of the guesses might actually be. Huh?
Is this franchise or Memphis?
This was franchise leader, yes. And the franchise.
It's Memphis.
It is Memphis.
Mike, right?
Which one?
Conley. Sorry.
It is Mike Conley. Look at you.
Well, what you don't know is I own one Grizzlies jersey my entire life. And it's
Really?
Mike Conley because he's my favorite player of all time.
Do you know all the franchise records that he holds?
I would assume assists.
That is correct.
Lowest amount of technicals.
That is definitely correct.
Does he have the minutes record?
No, he does not.
Okay. Consecutive games played, maybe?
I don't have that one.
I don't know. I did know points, though.
Yep. Well, he does also have the most three-pointers made as well. And so that would have probably been a good one to ask.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, but that's one of the more surprising. But I figured I'd share because I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole again of always asking a Mike Conley question. And so I thought it was fun.
God,
but
awesome.
I was curious because obviously Zebo was here for a long time, and he had a very good career. But also you talking about Marc Gasol is right behind him. Marc Gasol is less than 100 points behind him.
How far back is Ja?
Ja is 8th, roughly half of what they have. So they have 11-7-3-3 is the leader, and then 8th is Ja Morant 5-5-5-7. Right, he's passed over Dylan Brooks, even though he was here half of the time.
He's moving up that list so fast, man. What is Mike Miller in there?
Mike Miller's actually 7th. He's Ja will pass him this season easily. Ja will become for sure 7th, and I would imagine he gets closer to Sharif Abdul-Rahim at 7,800.
Gotcha.
And so you're talking about moving up the list pretty fast. Next year he'll obviously be in the top 5 because he'll catch Rudy. And so that's going to be what we'll get there with Ja for real. Very, very soon. And then Jaren's climbing up the blocks, leader as well. So there's a lot happening with this group, this core group. It's crazy to be a Grizzlies fan and you see this core group of Dez, Jaren, and Bane, and then you look back at the core 4. We've been blessed, very much so. But let's get into a little bit more of the comments. I know they've been coming in since then. And so I know Brown on boxing got it right for Mike Conley. But Volcano, the Sweat, the Sweat, unfortunately, not a cool nickname anymore. And then the T makes me sick, even though I married a UT alumni. He wants to know if we're going to make the play-in. Do you think it's I know we talked about this last time, is about more the play-in or more, can you be in the top 8 possibly?
Yeah. Yeah. Do we have a chance to make the play-in? I don't know. Like, I'm not in Tennessee, so I can't do this, but I bet you still got plus odds to make that bet. I would put money on that. I would have put money on that as soon as they went 11 games back. Because as soon as they hit 6 wins, I would have just let the losses pile up after that and then put money on it right before Ja came back. Because they absolutely have a shot. Yeah, 100% to make the play-in.
Yeah.
It's a different team, man. It's a different team with him at the reins. And the good news is when you're playing these teams in regular season, like Minnesota and the Lakers, that are going to give you fits in the playoffs. I think that's just a recipe for disaster for the Grizzlies with the current big situation. They're not going to send those bigs to double Ja. He will weave through them in the regular season. Now, in playoffs, they'll come up with a game plan, right? But regular season, he still can find ways to win even in those environments. So, yeah, 100%. I think they can make the play-in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this will be a game. I think it'll be it's going to be hard to keep this trio out of the playoffs because of the way they're going to continue to gel. We're talking about we only have Marcus Smart back, Luke Kennard, potentially Brandon Clark. There's a lot of guys that we don't have back yet, and so it's only going to continue to happen. But tonight, overall, the Grizzlies did take care of business against a team that's averaging 127 plus points a game. They win 116-103. Another good game out of the Grizzlies, showing back up after that big lead was gone in the second quarter. Again, they took off to end the third quarter, and then the fourth quarter they continued to dominate. Another good game out of them. And so I don't want to be missing out on the player of the game. So with that being said, the Grizz 901 player of the game is none other than Desmond Bane. 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 3-pointers made. Desmond showed, a phenomenal poise for the simple fact that he looked bad at half. Like, he did not look like himself. He was having an okay game points-wise. If you're looking at a bare stats, if you're looking at just a box score watcher, it was fine. There was nothing to write home about it. But if you saw the game and you watched the game, and a lot of Grizz fans, a lot of Memphis knows game. Like, we saw that it wasn't the same. He didn't look like himself. He came out and finally took advantage of having more guys being run at him, getting to the spots and hitting the deep ball. And so 5 3-pointers was big, but also 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Was another good game out of Dez. But overall, the Grizz 901 player of the game is Desmond Bane.
Yeah, he missed a few in the first half and had a few opportunities, not just shots, that he missed in the first half. That's, again, we talked about this before, or I'm sorry, after last game. It's going to take a minute for Dez to really kind of find his groove with Ja being back, right? Going from being the main guy, like not just the main guy, the 1A guy, to kind of a 2A guy, right? It makes it a little bit tough, but you saw in the second half, he got into a rhythm, and then with them doubling Ja, with them doubling Jaren, he kind of got to be the 1A guy again, and then he really put it together. And so really good stuff out of Dez. Once they find a way to get all 3 of them clicking, where it's not just, hey, one guy's clicking because the other guy's getting doubled, so on and so forth, which is going to be the nature of a lot of basketball, man, it's just going to be scary hours, as the children say.
you and JB, man. God.
Sorry, that was my other personality coming out. I'll bring the other one back.
As the children say.
As the children say.
Yeah. But overall, tonight, a great game out of Des Bane. The fact that we have a number 2, and he could be, honestly, a number 1 on some teams. But the Grizz 901 player of the game, Desmond Bane, 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 3-pointers. All right, let's dig in a little bit more to the game before we get into the preview. And guess who's back, Nate?
I don't know.
Chris is back. First NBA champs coming from the
Chris
play-in.
never left. What are we talking about? Chris never left. Chris is always with us, at least in spirit. Thanks, Chris.
We were talking about Chris, or you were talking about Chris earlier. But yeah, man. Dude, it'd be awesome if they could be a play-in team and just kind of make a run. But Bane, as Dak Jones saying, he's so different. He is so good. But let's get into a lot of this in general and discuss more of the details of this. I guess the game in general. Then I want to get to David Roddy. I almost forgot about that. And I see we're kind of running up on time a little bit. The game tonight overall, is there anything that stuck out to you that you're like, hey, man, like this lineup looked great or didn't look great? Or is there anything that just kind of stuck out and jumped out kind of off the paper, off the television to you in general?
No, I'm glad that you got to this, because it's just going to be – he's going to get another opportunity. And it's going to be a matter of who takes advantage of it or not. So the thing you have to have on the floor with Ja is – guys who are going to be threats off the ball. And the thing that Roddy's done really well, what he did really well last year, was he was a really good cutter.
Yeah.
He eventually found the ability to hit a bunch of corner threes, and he defended really, really well.
Yeah.
Well, so far this season, he's not had the ability to be the cutter because, to be honest, there's been no one to cut for. 2, you've got Zaire, who's hitting threes better than he is, despite the fact it's still not at a great clip. And 3, he's not a lob threat. 4, he's not defending. He's been spacing out on defense all year. And listen, Zaire, I have never seen someone with the ability to get caught on a screen as much as Zaire. Like that dude, if you screen Zaire, I promise you, it's like you super glued yourself to him for a minute. It takes him so long to get out of it. At the same time, you saw what his length was able to do tonight once he got locked in and into more of a rhythm. So, to be honest, I am very skeptical that we see Zaire stay consistent all year because I've paid attention. And if that happens, then Roddy will get another opportunity. If Conchar ends up going down or something, he'll get another opportunity. But right now, you're putting guys in around those guys that you trust to be in the right spot and to do their job. And right now, the one you have the biggest question mark on is Zaire, who, quite frankly, performed well tonight.
Yeah.
Even though that three was about to kill a child if the backboard wasn't there and somehow found its way through the net.
Yeah, we're gonna. I want to keep hitting on this. Enzo B, I want to get to your question here in a second about Smart and Ja, how they're going to be together. I want to talk about Roddy and then also Jitty. I want to bleed into the Jitty discussion because I think it's going to be overall the role players. But Roddy he's in a sense like Jitty because he does a certain few things really well. And he can kind of be a guy that you can depend on. I don't know if we need, now that we have Vince Williams here, I don't know if we need both Jitty and Roddy. They're both on small contracts, so it's not that big a deal to have both of them and carry them both. Vince is going to be on a small contract as well. So you're talking about 3 guys on small contracts. One of them is definitely not playing. Does that hurt them? But also, it's a really good thing for a coach and a franchise if you had to lean on a David Roddy because, Smart needs some time off or Rose needs some time off, Luke goes down, or, Vince needs a game off here and there. That's something that's the cherry on top, right? That's something that you don't always, get on a team. Before in the very beginning of the season, we wish we'd have had that. Now we're like, all right, we might be able to have guys that could be really good, in a stretch.
Vince changes everything.
He does.
Changes everything. Like, make no mistake, Vince, if he doesn't come along, Roddy's getting all those minutes. They're starting Zaire right now, and Roddy gets all those minutes they're going to Zaire.
I agree.
That's how that goes, right? And I disagree with that. Like, maybe he hasn't rebounded this year, but it's the same thing. If you put him in a lineup with John Moran in the lineup, he's going to be looking a lot better than he's looked all year too, right?
And that's the thing on that, because he hasn't played with Ja yet, really.
Well, here's the problem, Daniel. You go from having no good wings to when Marcus Smart comes back, it's not a decision to make. You start Marcus Smart. You don't start Vince Williams. But it's a legitimate conversation for fans to wonder. Because I wonder, hey, Vince just does his job and moves the ball.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to put a guy in there that's going to jack up shots with 17 seconds left on the clock sometimes?
Right.
The answer is yes, it's Marcus Smart, and you brought him in for a reason. Right? At the same time, once Smart's back, Zaire's minutes are going to go way down. Conchar might not get minutes.
Right.
And then it's just a matter of who do you want to throw in there? It's all matchup based for those end of bench minutes. Not to mention Kennard's coming back.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about the roster, that like the issues that are about to be had, which is, do you want to play Zaire anymore? Where do you put Vince? Kennard's coming in. It makes you think about, hey, we hated the front office for 25 games, but hey, this is the roster they have now, right? Yeah. And so, it's going to be a whole different type of problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're talking about Smart. What I look at is, what does one guy do that another guy does? You're talking about Roddy. Roddy plays pretty good bully ball. He can kind of be a guy that can be a creator in a sense, right? But then you have, guys that are coming back healthy. All right. Now you have a guy in a sense that they figured out a way to get Ja on the court. And then you also have Bane. So I don't know if you need that creativity as much right now, as long as you have Ja, Bane, and Jaren, because they need the ball as well. So that's why you don't really need Roddy at the moment. So
no, Zaire's not going to be playing soon.
But yes.
Like, Zaire
is losing minutes for sure. 2 players are for sure.
Yeah, Jitty and Concha are going to be the 2.
Or X, depending on the team.
Yeah, kind of. But because of their big situation, I think X sort of stays getting pretty consistent minutes.
Yeah.
That pretty much is going to matter. If Luke's hitting shots, Luke's playing. And if he's not hitting shots, I think they give the minutes to Conchar that would normally go to Luke.
Yeah. No, I agree. And so looking at that in general, another thing I want to talk about with Jitty is Jitty has played very, very well as of late, especially. And I know that a lot of it just seems like he seems more confident now. And I think you can say that with all the role players. They look like they have a little bit of confidence. He has been a very good rebounder and a guy who's, getting up, blocking shots. He tried to yam on dude's head. Was it last game?
It was so stupid.
It was very stupid, but the fact that he actually tried it just showed me that, like, he's got a little like weirdness to him, and I love a little bit of something.
spiked that ball tonight, dude.
Yeah.
And shout out to Ed Malloy trying to kill it. Friggin' Ed Malloy and Natalie Sago should never, first off, official and NBA game, much less an NBA game together. It's just a disaster class. What a terror. Like, they didn't shoot a ton of free throws tonight, but my God, was that an inconsistent whistle for both sides. The Pacers got screwed in the fourth. The Grizzlies got screwed in the third. It was terrible.
Yeah. As Hunt Dardina says, I haven't had this much fun since the Grizz last March.
Yeah.
I haven't had this much fun before we started playing the Lakers, I have to say. Because after the Lakers, yeah.
Yes.
That sucked. We had the watch party with Bluff City Media, and that blew. But Conchart, he did look like himself tonight. Finally, those blocks were awesome. Last thing I want to hit on with the role players, and then we're going to get into looking ahead to the Hawks, is going to be from Enzo. Enzo wants to know about Tillman because I do think that he's pointing out the free throw shooting was bad, but in general, like, what do you do with Tillman? Because he has looked really bad and unplayable at times. Like, he went through that stretch where they were playing Jake and Zaire over him and Jitty. But then, like, now you feel like you kind of have to have him. Is that because maybe when Ja coming back, it allows the offense to flow a little bit differently? You don't need the shot creation like we just talked about with Roddy?
Yeah, I mean, Tillman is just a non-threat on his own. But when you put him with Ja and you just put him in the middle, like, the one thing Tillman does a great job of is his job. And that's what we talk about. You've got Ja, you've got Dez, you've got Jaren. You just need other guys to do their job. And X does a great job of doing his job. He is going to try and be physical with the other teams. He may get overpowered, but he's going to try and be physical with the other team center, be in a good position. He does a great job of getting to the middle. Like, whenever they start to double up on somebody, X always finds his way to the middle. And he may not do much once he's there. He may smoke the little push shot that he does. He may not catch the ball, but he's where he's supposed to be, which is a lot more than what you say for a lot of the guys that have been playing, right? And so that's what you want. You want guys that do their job. And quite frankly, X was awesome last year while Ja Morant was there. Right? He did more than just a passable fill-in job. He did a great fill-in job for Steven Adams, as undersized as he is, especially. And you saw him. He got that pass in the middle of the night. It was like in the first quarter. I think Santi got it to him in the middle, and he hit that little push shot. Never hesitated, and it went in. Dude, he is money with that shot. He just needs the confidence to actually put it up. And you saw him have the confidence tonight, just like everyone else has confidence when Ja Morant's on the floor. Yeah, X is going to get minutes, and he's going to do a great job, I would guess. And listen, I have been on Tillman this year. I think he's been a step behind all season. But I think that changes with Ja Morant, just like a lot changes with Ja Morant.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what doesn't change? Natalie Sago. She's the
Dude,
one.
never changes. I think maybe her last name changed because she got married or something, but I looked her up a while ago because I was like, is this who I think it is? Because I always forget exactly who her ref is. Yeah, it's exactly who I thought it is. Natalie Sago. Who's the other one? The dude that keeps tossing people and making me lose bets.
I don't know.
No
clue. All right, let's get to our third break real quick. And then we'll get back in here. We're going to talk a lot about the Hawks. I have an interesting thought process through this that you're going to want to hear. So I'll be right back here in about a minute.
People have this thing like, oh, I'm keeping the receipts, and I'm going to remember who said this. We wasn't lying.
Well, I get it. Yeah. So that's one. I've reached a point where anything you say on Twitter, I can ignore it.
Right.
Like I'm not promising you I'll never pop back at somebody. Sometimes I do. I might today, but I often don't. I would say for every 50 negative comments I get, I might reply to one. I don't get involved.
I'm getting there too, man.
Yeah, but you don't look like you're getting there. I see you arguing all day long every day. You gotta wait. There, man. You gotta ways to go.
Well, I might get more. Well, I don't get as many as you.
Well, how about this? And I'm not saying you have to get there. I'm just saying I am there. There are different ways to handle social media. I just found it to be largely unproductive.
Right.
But
I do it for calisthenics sometimes. Right. Like I don't feel no way. I just okay. Let me just engage in this just for fun.
Yeah. Tune in to the Anthony Sain Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
We are back. Make sure you hit up the Bluff City merch store, bluffcitymerch.com. You can't buy this shirt. You can't buy this one, but you can buy a shirt like it. If you're looking for some more in-depth stuff for Grizz 901, we do have our own store over at Grind City Designs. You can go over there and pull up our store. It's Grizz 901. It's under all the other stores that have that. But go check out Bluff City Merch. There's so much stuff there. But as they're continuously adding new product to the site, so make sure you do that. I believe you can still put in the code Xmas23 for 30% off. There's also a sale right now on a shirt that I actually bought myself tonight. I think it's $12.50. I think with shipping and everything, I think you're paying like $18 or something like that. So it's not a bad deal. What you got?
Well, first off, I had Puka Nakua tonight, so all things are turning up Nate this evening.
Hey-o.
Second off, shout out to Sane taking the victory lap of all victory laps right now on Twitter. Just listen, everybody got on him for what he said in that press conference about Haliburton to job. Haliburton, bro, he is going around. We know Sane keeps receipts, and shout out because he is making the most of it right now. It's awesome.
That's funny. Shout out to Sane. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's get to a little bit of the Hawks and what is upcoming, and we'll try to get out of here hopefully in the next 10 minutes or so. But 2 days before Christmas, we have a gift that we get to play the Hawks. The Hawks have not been great this year. They are 12-15, and so not a great start over there. In their last 10, they are 4-6. But a little bit on that, a lot of people don't, necessarily pay attention to the schedule. What I see is the third game in 4 days. They have a back-to-back with travel. We just played a team tonight, back-to-back with travel. Things are turning up all Nate. Things are turning up all Grizzlies at the moment because now you get to go and play against a team. Even though you are traveling, you get to go and travel to Atlanta. As long as they don't go down there and get some good wings and kind of stay out of trouble, I think we're going to be okay down in Atlanta. I think this team is focused. There's a different look to this team in general, but let's let them lemon. Is it lemon pepper? I think it's lemon pepper wings that were so famous down there. But yeah, it was it's going to be a good matchup between the Hawks. The Hawks average 123.1 points per game, and they give up 122.9. So roughly 123 both ways. You're talking about a team that likes to score, but also is not very good defensively. The Grizzlies just held a really good team that scores more. Actually less. This team is very good defensively in the Grizzlies. They're going to be a top 10 team throughout the year on the defensive end, if not top 5, possibly top 3, the way they're looking right now. So any thoughts on the Hawks on your end?
First off, if the Grizzlies get wings, they're going to be door dashed. I think that's
understood.
I think that's probably something that's been established within the locker room. Second off, no, I got nothing on the Hawks, man. They've got 2 of the guys in their guard spots that I you can't exactly say why. Like, I don't have any great reasons, but they're so unlikable. Like
DeJounte Murray and
Trae Young. Yeah, I think when DeJounte went on that summer league, like trolling guys who were in Lifetime or something and stuff. And then Trae Young, just Trae Youngin, and it's just
Trae Young
super unlikable. So, but listen, I've watched very little of them this year, and what I have seen is that they're the team that could either put up 140 on you or 94, just depending on what they do. And coming off traveling, and then you say they have a game the night before, and then they're traveling to Memphis, or vice versa?
No, they're traveling to Atlanta. So they're going to be playing the Heat tomorrow night. And then they're going to, so that Friday night, and then they're going to travel back to Atlanta, which isn't, that's not a long deal. But you're talking about going down to Miami, right? That's also another stop that people have an issue with. And then you're coming back to Atlanta. And so
about to say,
their game
it might be a little bit of a both figurative and literal hangover for them. So, listen, I just think this Grizzlies team is figuring some things out defensively. they are letting both their offense flow into and create good defense for them, and vice versa. Right? I do think that the strong offensive performances is helping them stay locked in defensively. So I do think it goes both ways.
Right.
But that's a team that if Trae Young's hot and he's sitting from all over the floor, then I think you kind of just let Trae Young be hot. Just don't let the other guys do it. Right? Like tonight is Nesmith and Obi Toppin started to kill you for a bit, right? It wasn't Haliburton that kept that game close. I mean, Haliburton did do some things that got that game close actually in the second quarter, but it was the other guys hitting shots that killed you. So, listen, I got a good feeling about it, man. I think this team, unless you play one of the juggernauts of the NBA this year, has a chance to win every game that they play.
Yeah,
as Ja Morant's playing. So
that's the difference. One thing I don't know about is DeJounte Murray and one of his worst tattoos, as Dak Daniels says. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? Dak, please share that with us. I don't know exactly what his tattoo is. Maybe it's on his butt, and we don't know about it, and you do.
Bob Saget. Let me look it up. I hate a bad tattoo, man, because I love a good tattoo.
The Grizzlies now 8-19 on the season. Obviously, getting back one more game into where they're only 10 back in general. He's Nate. I'm guessing you are Googling it. Is Matt Skate News? Shout out to Matt Skate News. I'm guessing you're on your lunch out in Japan. Shout out to you. Speaking of Japan, and I think I am not wrong on this. I think this guy is Japanese. Yamamoto. The Dodgers just signed another guy. He's the pitcher. So the Los Angeles Dodgers signed another guy, 12 years, $325 million after they just signed Ohtani. Dude, this is nutso in La La Land. So that's what made me think of that. But I'm a big baseball nerd, big baseball fan. And so just having those guys out there, screw the Dodgers forever. Japanese. You guys see there, Yamamoto. I don't know. I'm just reading over here.
Good luck, Daniel.
I'm just reading. But yeah, shout out to you, Matt Skate News, as always, for joining us. But yeah, just looking through this and what they do in general, it's a pretty much the exact kind of style of offense that Indiana runs, right? And then the defense is pretty much the same thing. So at this point, you are a guy that you just had a trial run in a sense, right? And so I really do think that this game helped us, but also I think we're going to be able to go down to Atlanta, possibly be able to work Smart back in a little bit more. And I think this is going to be a good game for the Grizzlies, potentially going 3-0 in Jaws starts since he got back. And shout out to another guy who's always a friend of us, but also one of our guys, one of the OGs. Ian Sparks is here with us. I don't think I pulled up any of his comments tonight, and so I want to give him a shout out. But let's talk a little bit of the rest of the year. We're going to be here throughout the season. Let me look at these dates real quick. Okay, I want to go through a little bit of what we got because a lot of these shows, podcasts, whatever you want to call them, are going to be taking off for a good bit for the holidays. Nate and I are going to try to work through these. You might not see both of us on every show. I'm not sure about my availability. My ability is always suspect, but my availability on Saturday might be up in the air as well. And Nate, I haven't talked to you about that either. And so who knows? So we're not sure about hit or miss. So just kind of stick with us a little bit. We're going to do our best. It might be just like we did in the last, I think it was a Thanksgiving show where I hopped on for 30 minutes. Depending on how the game goes. But you're talking about the Hawks on Saturday. It's a 6:30 game, potentially a 8 o'clock show on a Saturday. That's always tough, just in general. We want to be here, but it's tough just for life purposes around the holidays.
Yeah. I'm not sure because we haven't talked about this, but Saturday night of a Christmas weekend with a pregnant wife and no other family might make it tough.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see what happens.
We're gonna play it by ear. We're just letting everybody know now. And then you're talking about the day after Christmas on the 26th, which is a Tuesday. That should be okay for me, especially. And then the 28th, which is Thursday, that's another game. It's a later game. So anything that's that late, it should be talking about 10:30 Central. I know I can do the really late games, and especially throughout this holiday time. I'm not too worried about it. You will see. And then it's a back-to-back, another super late game. We're talking about a midnight tip. I'm not a midnight tip, a midnight tip for the show, which could be tough for me because I'm old and washed.
I've got two things completely unrelated.
All right, go ahead.
While you're looking at some of those things. Number one, I was just watching Matthew Stafford do the interview after Thursday Night Football, and I've never been more certain in my life someone has veneers. Shout out to my wife for teaching me dental stuff. Dude, those are some pearly whites, and no way they're real. Number two, shout out to Monty Williams, Coach of the Year, former Monty Williams, about to claim NBA history for the longest losing streak ever in the association. It was a fraud then. It's a fraud now. Free Jaden Ivey.
Shout out. Last thing, we are not going to be doing a show on New Year's night. And so the 31st against the Kings at Grizzlies, there will be no show. So that's the boring part of this. And so if you've hung around this long, thank you. You're probably a little listener that actually appreciates us kind of telling you maybe of some of our schedule. But just overall, we're going to try to be on here, hit or miss. This Saturday could be tough. And then for sure, next week, which is the Sunday, we are not having a show. So just bear with us. We're going to do our best to try to have some kind of show, whether it's us or somebody else, whether it's one of us with a guest on. We're going to try to do our best overall. So we'll see. But as Brown on Brown Boxing says, big facts. Monty Williams is the new Doc Rivers. I've never been a fan of Doc Rivers. And so Monty, he seems like a good guy. But man, he is the wrong coach for that Detroit team. I know they wanted a hard-headed, like a hard-nosed guy to bring in that young crew. I don't think it's going to go. I don't think. Well,
between that and watching Jordan Poole, it's just like,
blah, blah. All right, that's it on the show. Anything else you got before we put a beautiful bow on this?
No, if we don't get on here again, Merry Christmas to all you guys that come in here with us. Truly, like we get to do this because you guys come in and support us, and it's honestly what makes it fun. Like we used to do the show and we would just record it and put it out. And I promise you, we're not doing that 82 times in a season.
Nope.
If we don't get to come in here and like go back and forth in the chat and stuff, and just appreciate you guys coming along with us, having fun with us, dealing with all the stupid stuff we say and enjoying the stupid rants we go on. So appreciate you guys. Hope you all have an amazing holiday.
Yeah. Always, Christmas is always fun, man. I got 2 little kids, and so always a good time for me. And
wife has 3.
Yeah, and so yeah, my wife has 3 because of me. I'm the biggest kid. But man, it's so much fun, and so I hope you take this time to spend it with family, and really do take the time to cherish it and have a good time and have fun and enjoy a nice beverage if that's what you do, and just kind of take in the little things, because that's always what's means the most to me. Family means the most to me, so I hope it means the most to you too. And as Brown on Boxing says, this is better than ESPN. I hope. Listen, I don't agree, but maybe you do, and I hope you do.
I do. Kidding me? Have you watched ESPN lately?
Yeah,
like it's not the compliment it once would have been, but we do appreciate it all the same.
Definitely. But that's all we got, man. If y'all don't mind, do us a favor. Go over to I guess the YouTube over there. Hit the subscribe, the like. If you're watching us on Twitter again, hit the like and the share. And also the other thing is if you're watching this after, which a lot of fans do, especially the next morning, if you could just go ahead and hit the like on that, but also subscribe and do like whatever you can, whether it's a write or review, it's always good for us. So, but that's all we have. As always, be nice and tell your friends.